games aren't as big. It's probably because I was a kid or something, but I feel like games aren't as big a deal. Like, do you remember the Call of Duty versus like Halo 3, and there was like red carpet events for those games, and I feel like we don't make as big a fuss about games as much these days.
I think what it might be as well is I think you're right when you say when we were kids, like, you know, when we see stuff going on now, we're like, who is this for? And it's like, it's for the kids, because they're thinking about current games right now, how we felt about COD and Halo.
Yeah, true.
I also think, though, it's a little bit of Corona, but also, like, back in the day, everyone had to go to the store to get their games, so having events was a bit more natural. Now, when you go to an event, you're actively not playing at home.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Steve. I'm going to agree with you because, like, it's almost ironic saying this from a literal gaming podcast that updates weekly. But like back in the day, you had internet and you had GameTrailers.com and places like that. IGN existed, but there wasn't, I feel like, this constant drip feed of the newest information as soon as it was live every second. It was like, I used to get like monthly GameCube magazines and things like that. And they would have DVDs with trailers on them and stuff, and I'd be like, this looks sick, what the fuck? And like that was my news.
I found out about Dark Chronicle, one of my favourite games of all time, through a magazine. And it was just a guy holding a gun and a wrench, and I was like, fuck yeah, that looks awesome.
It's funny, isn't it? You'd like get a magazine or something, like a PS Extra magazine. And then you'd read an article that's like, hey, X studio is making this game, and they'd have screenshots and stuff, and I'd be like, that's fucking sick. And then I would put the magazine down, and that was it. That's all I get for like years.
Back to school.
Maybe get cancelled, and I just never know about it.
Those discs, and they were literally like 10 demos, and that was it.
Yeah.
I remember I had
we are boomers.
Fuck, we are so old.
My cousin had like a subscription to I think they're like bi-weekly or monthly PlayStation magazines, official ones, and they had the big demo discs with like 10 demos on them. And I was a Nintendo kid growing up. He was the PlayStation guy. And I'd go around, and he wouldn't have all the new games, but he'd have all the demos, which is kind of like when you're around there for like a day or whatever, it's like, yo, I've got 50 games.
That's genius.
It's like we know we're not going to play these for more than half an hour anyway each. Like, what do you want to play? You want to play the opening to like Metal Gear Solid? Like, let's go. You want to play a level of Tony Hawk? Like, it's discs over there, scratched up. Go give it a go. Did you ever used to try
and beat the demo disc? Where as a kid, not understanding how a game works, it was like, well, the game's there. I just have to get past the end of, it's like it goes to the end of the level, and you're like, but maybe if I jump out of the level in this way, I can get to the rest of the game that's obviously on this disc and not.
Oh, my cousin was an actual troll. He would be like, if you get more than like 50,000 score in Tony Hawk level, the rest of the game opens up. I'll be like, oh fuck, let's go.
Haven't there been like demos of games which actually contain the full game and people like unlock them?
It's normally
Zelda one, right?
I think what happens is like there are certain demos where you can glitch out of bounds, and then to a certain point you can explore a little bit. But then it's like the whole game's not here, obviously.
Haven't there been like online demos that have had that before, where it's like, oh, the game is here, but it's just locked away, but people like hack it and crack
I think like Sam said, there was, I don't know what it is exactly, but for some reason it does ring a bell. There's like a Zelda one.
I'm pretty sure there was a Zelda one, and the demo was a time limit, if I remember correctly. So if you could speedrun the Zelda demo and complete the game, because you could do it in the time. I'm pretty sure
that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's like no one's going to complete Ocarina of Time in under like 6 minutes. Like, I don't know, man. People are pretty fast these days.
We had a wave of speedrunners born that day.
Basically, you put anything with a timer on top, and it just like awakens some competitive element in most people.
Yeah.
It's so good though. Yeah, demo discs were so good, and you used to have I had GameCube discs with trailers, but GameCube never, from what I remember, the magazines I got, they didn't have a lot of demos. It was always like trailers of Metroid Prime.
Well, true, yeah. It was always the PlayStation that had the demo discs, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I have stacks of PS2 demo discs somewhere. Like they'll be in my parents' attic or something.
I remember it was called Monster Rancher. There was a game. There was an anime,
Yeah.
but it was also a game. And in that game, you would like in the anime, you would put discs in and summon monsters. But for the game, like you would use any CDs and like video game discs.
Oh yeah, I know.
And put them in.
Oh, that rings a bell. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I literally, my aunt had like stacks of CDs. I would go through every single one and summon the monsters in them. And that game is actually on Steam now, but I'm assuming it's like they're not going to be like, you need a disk drive to summon monsters.
Did you ever have like I think they were called like barcode battlers? Did you ever have?
Yeah.
It was a similar thing like that where it had like a little, what do you call it, like a dot matrix screen, and you would get new monsters by scanning barcodes, and you would just take this to like a supermarket, and your mum would be like, okay, just go away for a bit, I'm doing the shopping. So you just go in all the aisles, just scanning tins of beans and like random things, getting all these monsters. It was amazing. And yeah, Monster Rancher was like that, I think, where it's like, yeah, you put in random CDs and you get a new Pikachu or whatever. That was strictly PS1 though, I think.
Yeah, I had one like that, but I think it was for like sound files on your iPad or something. So it was like, yeah, I don't know. What was the one that did that recently? Inscription, when it was like you had to go digging in your files to find like a giant.
Oh yeah, in the robot section
thing. In the yeah, and it was like depending on how
that.
big the file was, the monster was stronger. That was cool.
Yeah, it would make a card out of a random like file on your computer. And I saw so many memes of just like people like, look what it dug out, and it's like some big titty anime girl in a bikini.
yeah.
It's like, this is now my best card in my deck because it's gone randomly through my folders on my computer. Yeah, I love stuff like that. It's because they're like, it's. I think looking at it now, it's like, it's so basic, right? It's like, yeah, it's random monsters with random stats. As a kid, it's like, you're telling me I can put in any disc in my PlayStation and it makes a monster? That's insane. Yeah. That's the craziest thing.
And the thing was, it wasn't like RNG. It was like, no, each disc had a specific monster on it. Like if you played again like years later, like started a new save, it would have the same monster on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it has to be RNG, right? Not like every time, but like it's not like, okay, for Shakira CD album.
Somebody in the dev's office is like, what if they put in Chumbawamba? What's that gonna be?
Someone hard coding the best monster in the game for now. That's what I call Music 42. Oh god! All right, let's get this show on the road before it gets too late. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Game FourCast, weekly gaming podcast where we all get together and chat about what we've been playing and all the latest news for the week. My name is Josh, aka BottlerWorks, and I'm here with Olive Meister Will.
Hello.
Quikwix Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve, and you can hire me as a form of birth control.
Sammeh.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I know what. You know what? No.
Don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just ignore it and move on. This
you know those.
You go for it.
Go on.
There you go.
Well, I was gonna say it's like those hydrophobic materials. It all just slides right over me now. At this point, it doesn't even go in.
I was going to mention how this week is kind of stacked. Coming off of last week, where we were like, "Thank God Counter-Strike exists for news." Now there's like 3 different big news stories this week that I'm like, oh, really? You know when news comes out and you're like, I cannot wait to talk about this. Like, I want to discuss this right now. Yeah. I've got so many things I want to say.
Same. Zelda, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we'll get to them in a bit.
Now.
Or as a preview, it's all the dark and darker stuff which is all popping off. There's MultiVersus shit happening again, and there was a big Zelda direct, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, what have you been playing this week, William?
Hello. Well, I haven't played much this week because Diablo 4 beta ended.
Yeah.
Oh well, no, there was another beta, an open beta this weekend, wasn't there? And they added the Necromancer and the Druid. And I got to play a little bit of Necromancer. I was cat sitting at my girlfriend's sister's house, but I got to play a little bit of Necromancer, which I really enjoyed, and then Erin played a little bit of Druid, and she said, "This feels like shit, mate."
I also heard Druid was ass from multiple people.
Oh, interesting.
But not that it's like boring, but that it's horribly undertuned apparently, where it's just you don't do enough damage.
I was in a call of druids who were having an absolute fantastic time.
I'm sure it was fun.
In a group, right?
The old Druid circle jerk, yeah.
I didn't actually play it. I had enough of Barbarian, to be honest.
Yeah.
But 2 people played Druid, and they both were like, "This is absolutely broken."
Really?
I guess
that's the literal opposite to everything I heard
on the flip side to
everyone else who played them.
On the flip side to all of this, the game is so close to launch. Realistically, the only thing they can change is numbers at this point.
Yeah.
So if something is under or overtuned, that's probably good at this phase because you can go into the code or go into your Excel document and change those numbers and test it. They're not going to change graphics or whatever, but so.
Yeah, but and it's like, and again, it's like, this is, you only get to 25. This is not max level, so it's they should be keep making sure it's fun for all the classes as you level, but like the focus of the balance isn't going to be just halfway to max level, is it? But for Diablo 4, I'm still extremely excited.
Excited for Diablo 4.
I've been looking for other action RPGs in the meantime. I had a crack at a Wolcen a couple days. Vulcan?
Vulcan. I've heard of that, Vulcan.
But that's not scratching the itch. I'm going to dive into Path of Exile next week.
I have bounced off of Path of Exile, I think like 3 or 4 times.
But maybe this is the one.
Nah, every time I get to like I get to like some really low level, and I'm like, this was all right. I guess I'll play it again in a bit, and then I never play it again.
For me, it's like I'll see footage of somebody going, "Here's how you make X build," and they'll be like, "It's a Necromancer. It's a lightning mage or something."
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "That looks really fun," and then I'll play it right up until the point where the build is kind of starting to come together, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, that was fun. And then I stop. I do all the work and I don't get any of the reward. But again, that's not why I didn't play that either. I dabbled in Hogwarts Legacy a little bit on a Series X.
Interesting.
And I was really expecting that to run better than it did. I don't know if
I don't remember it running bad on PS5. What about it stands out?
It's not that it did anything wrong. It was just that I was going from, I have a PS4 slim on a crappy 1080 TV, and this was going to somebody who had an Xbox Series X and a 4K OLED or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go. It booted up, and I was like, I'm not blown away by this. And like I know we're getting like diminishing returns, but it's like it wasn't the jump from like PS2 to PS3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, you know what I mean.
I've gotten to the point now with my PS5 that the initial wow factor has gone, and this is what games look like now.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. It's like when I first booted, I think like Demon's Souls and the little robot game that comes with the PS5, I can't remember what it's called. It was like, oh my Jesus Christ, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, yeah.
Well, that's what I was excited for, but that I just didn't. I don't know if I've been spoiled by like but my PC's not a powerhouse, so it's not like I'm.
I don't think
blowing myself away.
I don't think Hogwarts is the game.
Probably not. Probably not, because it's like a multi-platform, isn't it? And it's maybe that was my fault. I set myself up for disappointment.
You're gonna roll your eyes at this, but the Last of Us remake on PS5 was one of the games.
Oh my god, he's gonna talk about Last of Us.
No. During certain scenes, I was like, okay, this is very nice looking. This looks really good. As an exclusive, it's now on PC, but tied to it is, yeah. It runs like ass as well, but we'll get to that. Yeah, it really wowed me with the way it looked.
Yeah. I thought Hogwarts was fine. I think I got what you said. It was like running around the actual castle. I was really impressed by how like intricate and dense everything was. And then you go outside, and I was like, this is kind of like, charming Scottish countryside, right? But I basically live there,
my life,
so it's not. Yeah, it wasn't. As soon as it got out into the open world part, and it was like, hey, do some bandit camps and do some, and I was like, oh nah, no, I think I'll pass there. I'll end it.
There's a horse at your window looking in. Like, really? You're gonna play this and not actually come outside?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, bounced off of Hogwarts. The game I actually played through to completion was a little indie game called Perish, which
yes, I saw someone play this.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people talking about this, and the basic setup is it's kind of like FPS Hades, where
that's bold. What the fuck?
Yeah, but like not good.
Oh, okay.
But it's like you are a guy trying to escape the afterlife or get to the afterlife or something like that. So you play as like Doom Marine, except he's an old Greek folk hero or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I wasn't really in it for the story, to be honest. I fought King Midas at one point. That was pretty cool. But this whole setup is it's a kind of roguelike FPS game with set levels but randomly generated objectives in those levels.
Okay.
And it starts really strong. You get this like little broken sword, and it's all about doing melee combos and dodging, because you've only got like 4 health when you start, and every hit you take is 1 health. So it's very punishing at the start.
Yeah.
And the sort of twist is that you are earning money through doing these objectives and killing monsters. And at any point, you can just choose. If you finish a level, you can choose to be like, right, I'm banking these, and I'm going back to the hub, and I'm starting my run again with, and then I can buy upgrades and stuff.
They're like permanent upgrades, like meta upgrades,
yes,
like outside of a run. Okay.
And you have like a loadout, and there's a bunch of weird looking weapons, including like Greek assault rifle, which the game is like very imaginative.
That's real, they had that.
They had those, yeah.
I'm a bit of a history buff myself.
yeah. And it's like it feels really good to play. If nothing else, it's definitely indie, and it's it almost feels early access, but it's not. It's a full release. But it feels pretty good to play. It's a bit jank, but it's very, very imaginative. And there's some section. There's like, it starts off very basic, where it's like, hey, you have to kill a mini boss, or you have to light a torch or something like that, and it's like guard this torch while it burns out or something like that. And it's like, it's all very like Greek myth themed. But then there was like, it was getting to the later levels, and it was doing stuff like run into this sewer, and everything is now pitch black, and you have to hold a torch to illuminate the way forward. But that means you can't use your gun, so you're stuck with this torch, and you have to kind of like,
that sounds
it
fun.
Becomes like a weird, not stealth section, but like a really cut down kind of version of the game. And it was interesting. It was pretty fun.
Is it like put your light away to shoot and then bring your light out to see if you hit
exactly.
your target?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this like stuff is trying to mob you, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of very like, it reminds me of a very, very indie Destiny.
It's giving me
it's like
Vermintide vibes.
It reminds me of like Serious Sam.
Yes, yes, very Serious Sam. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I saw some of this, and the viewing part of it that made me like really like, oh, this looks kind of fun, was every time you get a headshot, it does like the little ping sound.
Yes.
Or like whenever you hit something on the head, and that was like, oh, that seemed very. Because I wish someone playing with axes, and they were just like slashing, but every single time it got like the head, it made like a nice little ding, and I was like, oh, okay, I could see myself getting into this.
You've also got like in the trailer as well. It's showing it quite often. There's like a kick where he's kicking and throwing enemies around.
Yes,
that reminds me
the
of
Dark Messiah kick.
Yeah, it's kind of like Dark Messiah, or almost like Bulletstorm or something like that, where it's like throwing enemies around and pushing them into spiky pillars and.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like it's a fun idea. It has a lot of those different interesting things, but they don't really work together because it's like, you have like your attack, you have daggers that you can throw, and you have a consumable, which for me was like a grenade, and then your kick. And it was like the daggers are cool, and you'll get every time you finish an objective, it'll come up with these 3 cards that are kind of like perks for the run, right? And it'll be like sometimes it would be like, hey, your kick is stronger, or your daggers are flaming, or something like that. But like once you get a gun, it's like, well, what do I need these daggers for anymore? You know what I mean? Like actually, once I got a gun, it was like, what do I need any of this for? Because I was just mowing everything down.
I'm watching the trailer, and it's like, melee combat. That's why I said it would give me Vermintide vibes.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes like a not like a bullet hell, but
like a Doom.
Doom kind of shooter. And I'm like, where is this game going?
Yeah. It fucking goes places, I'll tell you that much. Like, I don't think I can recommend it because it feels like unfinished. It feels like an early access game.
Yeah.
And if this was like, because all of this footage, or a lot of this footage, is from like the very early levels where you're like, damn, this is impressive. And then later on, it gets kind of, what's the word? Asset story generated levels. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, this corridor seems awfully familiar. I've run down this several times at this point.
Have you finished a run at any point?
Yes, I finished one run, and I won't spoil what happens. But there was a twist, and I was like, oh, that's fun. I like that. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. How much is this? Let's have a look.
£17.
£17.50. Okay. This could be this seems like an interesting wish list game to buy for an afternoon, maybe in a summer sale when it's like 50% off. Or something.
That is how I recommend it.
Game Pass.
Or a Game Pass game.
Or wait for it to go to Game Pass. Yeah. It also has 4-player co-op. I didn't obviously test that because I have no one to play with.
No friends.
I have no friends. Yep. What else? All the weapons you can get. They have like challenges tied to them, and then when you finish the challenge, it unlocks like a perk for that weapon, which I love it when games do that. I think that's so much fun. Yeah.
Master your craft kind of deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Or it's what was I going to say? Oh, the thing I don't like is the enemies just spawn near you. And it's not like they're coming out of like monster closets, so you can, watch for places where they're spawning. They literally they'll be like a lightning bolt, and they'll just appear, and they can be anywhere from like the other side of the room to like right behind you. And so most of the times I got hit, it's not a particularly difficult game once you get into it. But most of the times when I got hit, it's because like I had my back to a wall and I thought I was safe doing an objective, and then something spawned behind me and ran up and hit me and slapped me in the ass. I was like, oh, fucking hell. And it's not like you're gaining health pickups, or there's no health pickups or anything. It's like one of those. It's like Hades, where it's like every hit is like, fuck, I should have dodged that. I should have seen that coming, sort of thing. You're very punished for it. It's fun. It's very imaginative. There's several points as I was playing through my runs where it would do a cutscene and I would be like, holy shit, this is fucking cool. But beyond that, I don't think like it has like maybe an evening or two's value of entertainment, but I don't think it's not going to be like a stick around kind of
prime wish list scenario for me, where it's like one day I might play this, so it sits on this list.
If you could get this game for you and all your friends, drop a $5 each and play this through, I think you would have a really good time. I don't think it's something like you need to run out and buy right now to experience the story of Perish.
But you don't want to get spoiled Perish at your work because everyone's going to be talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think Perish is going to be talk of the water cooler.
Did you finish Perish yet? Don't spoil it. That's cool though. Yeah, I'm gonna, as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna stick this on the wish list, and then, like I say, it'll be like a year from now. It'll be like, this game is like $350. You want it? I'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. You got anything else you wanted to wrap it up with, or are you good with that?
No, it's good. There's a giant enemy crab.
Oh hell yeah! What was the game on PS3 that had giant enemy? Was it like, it wasn't Dynasty Warriors? The big giant enemy crab meme. Was
it not a Dynasty Warriors? Is one of those, right?
It might have been, actually. God, really showing like boomer age now by talking about E3 2005 or some shit. Okay.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh,
you don't know the giant enemy crab meme? Hold on, I'll link you.
It's like it's E3 2000 and early something, and it's when the PS3 was first being shown, and it was the meme presentation where everything went wrong, PlayStation, and a guy comes out showing this game, and he says, in this game, you'll be in actual fights in actual ancient Japan that actually happened. And then the very next line he says is, here's this giant enemy crab.
Apparently it's a game called Genji Days of the Blade.
Yeah, I knew it was some crazy.
Did that ever come out?
I bet it was a launch game that sold no copies. Okay, well, segueing off of this game into something quite similar, we've got Sam's game of the week. What have you been playing? What have you been playing, Sam?
I have been playing, as people might have guessed by the end of last week's podcast, Atelier Ryza 3. And that's all it needs to be called. I don't know why these Atelier games have to be like...
I'm not letting you get off easy.
What's
the full name?
The full name, Sam? Yeah, come on.
Alchemist at the End and the Secret Key. I didn't even know this game was getting a third one. This has kind of just sprung up on me.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like, because Ryza has done a good job of bringing the Atelier series to light.
Yeah.
It was very... It's not on the same level as Persona 5, but Atelier was a very niche game series that no one knew about, really. You were in the know or you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? And Ryza has kind of helped it, be put on the map, so to speak. So the fact that this, obviously I knew it was coming out last week because it was a week beforehand.
Yeah.
But that was as much notice as I had. I have seen no trailers for this or anything. So this is crazy. But
I kind of agree with you where it's it was one day it didn't exist, and then my Steam was like, oh, by the way, this comes out next week. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Surely Sam knows about this. And then you were like, I think at the same time you were like, oh shit, this comes out next week.
Yeah. Do you know how I first learned about this game was anime statues? They really, they really putting that girl.
Hey,
you still subscribe to that email, are you, Steve?
Atelier Ryza is popular. It has popularized this style of game.
It's imagine finding out Persona 6 is coming out because of a fucking Nendoroid or something.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
I kind of assumed these games were just generated at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They put JRPG into Chat GPT, and then this just comes out.
It's like, oh my god, Atelier Ryza 3 is coming out. It's like, yeah, that's this week's JRPG.
Yeah. You guys will be doing this all again with number 4 by next month.
But anyway, so I'm playing it. It's good. It's what I expected from Atelier, especially Atelier Ryza.
Yeah.
But it's very open. Normally these games kind of railroad you to the point of here's your first area, and because you only have access to this area, we can you only get these materials. I have got someone knocking at my door. BRB.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Well, so is Sam saying this is the Diablo 4 of Atelier Ryza games?
I guess so. I mean, I think the thing with these sorts of games is me personally, I don't know what makes each game stand out from the previous one. Right, I feel like it's the running joke of like, haha, all these games come out all the time. But it's like,
I'm back.
I feel like that is the case, right? There's just so many of them. What makes this one stand out, Sam, from the previous one?
The biggest difference between this and the old ones is this game is a lot more open. Okay. Basically, to carry on from what I was saying before someone tried to sell me something at the door, this game literally goes, hey, all those places you've been to in the past 2 games, you can just go there. And you'll get like cutscenes where your party is like, hey, remember when we fought this guy here and stuff like that? And like literally during tutorial town, as I'll put it, you know, every game has that like, oh, you got to do the tutorial before we let you run loose. Nah, this game is just there like, yeah, that endgame castle that had the final boss, you can just go there.
Oh my god, it's Pokemon Gold and Silver.
That was previous game content. Like, it's still got stuff there. You can still collect materials and do your alchemist stuff. But this game isn't set in those locations, but they still exist, so you can still go there. And I was like, this is very weird. Like,
that is weird. That is weird. That's like weird. That's not common, like, across RPGs. That's really weird.
Like, so I'm 20 hours in, and as I was joking around, I've not even got half. I was joking with you guys before. I've not even got half the roster at the moment. So I don't know how far through I am. I've still not got all of, because I'm assuming I'm going to pick up the previous cast members from the previous games, because that's how it feels it's going to go. But I've still not fully got them all in my party.
It's almost like almost like a final roster. Like, here's all the characters, all the areas.
Especially in the trailer, it makes you think that, like, wow, for me as someone who's played them all, this has got to be the last one. They're bringing all the characters back, because Game 1 had 6 characters, let's say. Game 2 had 6 characters, but only 3 of them stayed. So it's like, this game now seems to have like 12 or 15. So it feels like they're going all out, and I think this will probably be the last Ryza game. But,
what's the party size and combat like again? Give us a brief update.
So combat is 3 people, but you have 3 people in the back that you can swap out to at any time.
Okay.
Because combat is like very fluid. It's not it's not action RPG like
a Tales game?
Move around and dodge. Maybe. I'm really not too hot on Tales games to yay or nay that.
Tales games was kind of like, from what I remember, because again, I'm not too hot either, but I remember you could move around the battle.
You can't move in this.
You can't move, okay.
This is like turn-based. You see your ATB bar.
Yeah.
But you only control you. Your other party members do their own thing.
Oh, okay.
But
is that good or bad?
It's fine, because you can just press R2 or L2 to swap to those party members at any given moment.
Right, okay.
So you're not locked to your character.
I see. Okay.
You just move about. If you like the guy with the huge sword, you just do combat as the guy with the big sword.
Okay. I do.
Stuff like that. So you've got a lot of freedom. But yeah, it's like you have 3 main people in the fight, and then 3 people you can swap out to, and then what looks to be 6+ people on the bench. But they've done the good thing, which is it doesn't matter who's what, where, or anywhere. Everyone gets the same EXP.
XP, thank fuck. That's the worst thing when that doesn't happen.
You don't have to like worry about like, well, that person's 10 levels behind, so they're never getting used.
Bring back useless party members.
Do you remember Final Fantasy X, where you would get to the snow location and it's like, this is a story fight for Kimimaru.
Oh yeah,
and only he can be in this. Yeah, whatever his name is, can't remember. Only he can be in this fight, and he comes off the bench, goes into the fight for me. Enemy's like level 50, he's like level 10, and I'm like, I can't. I'm stuck. I'm actually stuck.
Can't believe you've done this.
I didn't like him anyway, and now I hate him more because I have to level him.
But as far as the mechanics go to actual alchemy in this game, it is. I'm trying to remember what happens in 2.
Yeah, it has been a few weeks.
Well, yeah, but I've also played Atelier Sophie in between the new Sophie.
Yes,
one,
yeah, that was what you played
Atelier
last.
Ryza.
That's what you played last year. Because you've spoken about one of these on the podcast before, and we've only been going for about a year and a bit. And I think that was Sophie 2 or something.
Yeah, Sophie 2. Yeah. So I think this is the same as Ryza 2. It's definitely the same as Ryza 1.
Right.
So if it's not consistent through all of them, they've gone back to my favourite version after playing Sophie 2, and I played an old PlayStation 1 recently. This is my favourite version of alchemy, so that's good for me.
Oh, that's good.
Where it's literally like, here is a node, put something in there, and like each different item has its own elements. So like, you know, plants are probably going to have the green element, and rocks are probably going to have the earth or the fire element and stuff like that.
There's this screen here. Is this looks very alchemy? Is this the alchemy screen? Or?
Yes, that's the alchemy screen.
Okay, right.
This person's making honey.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's the normal ingredients of honey, which is a log.
A fossil tree, a dragon. That's like a dragon worm.
A sticker of a bee.
So that's an empty node. That means you can only have insects in that node.
Ooh,
right.
Bugs in your honey.
Put bugs in your honey.
You got some beehives behind level up. That's a nectar rock. That's what's that called.
Some tar.
But yeah, basically,
I want to
that for honey, blimey.
You have to meet the criteria to advance through the tree, and the more things in the tree you get, the better the item. Right?
Okay.
Very, very simple to understand. But the quality of items you get at the start are shocking.
Okay.
So you have to start putting 2 to 3 items in every node because you've only got stuff that gives you 1 element, and you need 3. And then as you go through the game, you get better resources, but you make everything. You make your armor, your weapons, your gathering tools. If you haven't made it, you haven't got it.
Right.
That's cool.
The only thing you can buy are ingredients, and the only bonus to that is sometimes you can buy some ingredients you haven't quite got access to yet, but they're always very generic, so they're not that good.
Yeah.
But, and so it is cool that you can do that, but as someone that's played the previous games, I know how to break this alchemy system, and because I know how, I can't not, you know?
Yeah.
So it does this thing where every time you craft something, you get skill points, and you spend skill points in a skill tree to unlock more things. And one of those things is duplication. So you can duplicate an item I've crafted, and then I'll use that to make something else, and then I can turn that into a resource so that I can duplicate more. And because I'm crafting a lot, I'm getting more skill points to fill out the skill tree. And I just do that loop. And it took me, as someone who plays the Atelier games, about 5 to 10 minutes to come up with this.
I love this.
And
I
do
love
that
this
from
so
the get-go.
much. I love the idea, not just this. I love the idea of being a veteran to any genre and going into a new one, and then just completely acing it in like 2 minutes. I had that with Bayonetta 3 recently, where you start the game and it's like, make sure to use heavy combos and light combos together to string and do more damage. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. As I'm like stingering and uppercutting and juggling enemies for 100 hits.
Yeah. But
well, I remember watching you going over to yours and playing like Mortal Kombat. Oh no, you picked up Tekken for the first time.
Yeah.
And watching you go like, okay, hold on, and then you just like flawlessly comboing a guy to death.
Yeah, it's
and
like, okay, I've got this, yeah.
That's really annoying. That's frustrating how good you are at that.
Or fighting games, just like you start a new fighting game, it's like, what's my anti-air? Okay, sick. Yeah. Right, I've now automatically made it to Gold League in like online matches. It's so good, yes. Sorry, carry on, yeah.
So I was just going to say, another thing to to how open this game is in the previous games you don't get these mechanics. Like I said, duplication.
Yeah.
That's normally locked behind a story beat. You have to get to a certain story and then that's unlocked. That's how it's worked in previous games.
Okay.
In this, it's in the skill tree, and you literally have the full skill tree from the get-go.
Yeah.
So, again, I might still be in Tutorial Town. I think I'm out of it now. But I was in Tutorial area, and I had a full skill tree. You know?
Yeah.
I was like the Final Fantasy X sphere grid. I had got every node. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I had done. So, combat. The downside to that is combat is very easy because I've made very high level gear. The upside to that is this game isn't really about combat. It's there as a means to an end because it needs to be. Because there needs to be some way to lose, you know, there needs to be something on the line.
Yeah,
otherwise, this game is basically just a visual novel.
I was going to say, you can't just talk and do alchemy all day. There has to be some sort of challenge.
I mean, I probably would still buy the game.
Say Sam definitely could.
But yeah, I basically made all combat redundant until shit starts catching up. And again, there will be, it's classic in JRPGs, there will be super bosses, which are like, if you're not at that level, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So I have them to look forward to. But so it's good. I'm enjoying it. I really don't think I'm that far in. So I'll see how that goes. I'll get back to you.
So have fun, everybody, week on week for about 5 weeks, hearing about Atelier Ryza 3 updates.
But because I've done all of the skill tree stuff, I'm still exploring because it's a very huge map. And I was like, oh, okay, I've explored everywhere. This is where we went before in the previous games. I've got all the landmarks so I can fast travel. Cool, let's do the story now. And the story goes, here's a new world map. We're going to a completely different area.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but what about those zones I couldn't get to before? That's where I thought we were going. So I've still got plenty of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
But I expect myself to blitz through it because the only thing stopping me is I care about the story in this game, so I'm going to listen to the chat.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, yeah.
I'm not going to get blocked by combat.
No, yeah. Well, so my question to you for this series is, I had a moment, I think it was like 5 or so days ago, I knew you were playing this, and I went, you know what? Like, these seem cool. Like, I like anime. I think I like JRPGs. Like, let's have a look. And I think I typed in Atelier into Steam.
Oh,
and
bad decision.
It was a nightmare. So we're talking about Atelier Ryza, but there's like 5 or 6 different series or some shit, all under the name Atelier.
Atelier is the main thing.
Yeah.
And then they're split into, there'll be like Atelier Dawn and Atelier Dusk, and that's like one.
It was a fucking nightmare. It was a nightmare. So my question to you, without getting too deep into it, what is a good place to start? If you were to say, start with this Atelier game, what would you recommend? Is it even this? Is it like the Sophie series? Like,
see, it's a part of me, because I liked the older ones. The originals had a lose condition, which was if you don't craft certain stuff to certain quality with certain requirements, game over.
Yeah.
It wasn't the whole like standard, you know, fight mobs, level up, fight boss, you can't really lose kind of deal. And I like that, but I understand that that's a thing of the past now. I think if you start with this, you start with Ryza 1.
Start with Ryza 1.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of people ask me as well. It's like, oh, like, okay, this can I play this like without playing the old ones? And it's like, you can, but you will not get as much out of it, and some things will be jarring. Like, this game starts off with, the gang's all back together. And
what gang?
Like, yeah, exactly. That means nothing to you if you haven't. Like, it does have on the start screen a like movie thing where it, like, I think it's like 10 minutes or something of just like explaining the story of the previous 2 games to you.
It's never the same,
And
though,
I'm
is
like,
it? It's never good
yeah,
enough.
I'm glad that's there because it needs to be for people that haven't played the previous 2. But the previous 2 games are fantastic anyway. So if you want to have a good start point, just go play Ryza 1.
Yeah,
and then if you like these games, you'll naturally find yourself playing all of them.
Yeah, I think at some point I will, because like I said, it's not only the fact that I was looking through and there were so many of them, but off sale, they're all like 50 quid as well each.
Yeah, Atelier Ryza 1 is the same price as Atelier Ryza 3.
And it's like is it a PSP game? Or is it...
No, Ryza series is PC.
Okay, it's PC, okay.
But the older ones were.
Yeah.
PS2, PSP, that kind of era.
So I was just thinking, I'm not going to buy a random one, hoping it's the good one to start with for like 50 quid.
If there's a cheap one, I could give you recommendations, but I would need to see them being cheap.
Yeah.
But there was one game which is completely different, and I feel like I should tell people this since we're on this topic. There's one which is called like Nelky.
Right.
And that game is a how do I describe it? You know, Resetia. It's a capitalism game.
Yeah. Build
like
have a shop and
you build towns and stuff. And the whole thing is your character isn't an alchemist. You put alchemists in buildings. They make stuff and you sell it and make money and prosper the town. And
you
stuff.
exploit them for exposure.
Yeah, exactly. No, but there's. I'm like, I don't want someone to be like, I'm going to try an Atelier game, and they pick the one not Atelier game.
They pick the match 3 visual novel.
Yeah.
What is Sam talking about? What the fuck?
Yeah, this game's fantastic. I expected it to be. It's so incredibly open. That's the only and that is a good thing, but I just wasn't expecting that. Like, no game goes, here, go to everywhere where you've been in the previous game.
That's always so. When you go back to previous areas when you don't expect it, is always amazing. There's one, it's Metal Gear Solid 4, when you go back to the area from Metal Gear Solid 1, and you have no clue you're going there, and it plays all the same music. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking cry. It's so good. Did you have any final things you wanted to... Oh yeah, you're done?
That's me done. This is my anime weeby game. You don't get more weeb than this.
No.
I know.
It's such
my beer.
It's such a backhanded compliment from me, but I think this is the best looking generic anime game.
Yeah.
It's like if you just...
Oh yeah, all of the Ryza games look fantastic as well.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, but they're anime games, and that actually makes it better, not worse. Because you're like, how does an anime game?
This is for the type of person that looks at what is coming out this anime season and thinks, that looks cool. I have no clue what it is, but I'll watch that just because they like anime.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. Like I said, I will play one at some point, not off sale because they're expensive, but
yeah, no, I understand price points. This to me easily worth 50 quid, but not, not someone.
Yeah. Well, like your game was similar to Will's, my game is similar to yours this week in that I have been playing Resident Evil 4 Remake.
What?
Yeah, I will make a segue.
These transitions.
I'll make a segue work by forcing it to work. Yeah, I've been playing Resident Evil 4 or RE4 Remake, if you want to call it. I have finished this from start to finish. I have played the entirety of RE4 Remake. I'm going to start this whole section by saying Resident Evil 4 itself at this point is 18 years old. It's been out for so long. So what I'm going to talk about now, I'm not going to spoil anything specifically that's new to the remake, because there is a lot of stuff that's new that is a really cool surprise. I'm not going to spoil that. But I think I don't want to dance around plot points-ish that have been known for 18 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk loosely about, the areas and certain enemies and things like that.
Is Mike in it?
Yes, of course he is. Yeah, he's best character in the entire game.
That's all I need to know. Thank God.
So yeah, I've been playing Resident Evil 4. I've been playing this on PS5. I'm gonna try and break this down so I don't get like confused. But just to start, like this game is amazing, just through and through. Whereas Resident Evil 3 remake was kind of disappointing because they left out sort of a bunch of stuff because it felt like it was kind of rushed. This feels more like RE2 remake, where it was like, oh my god, they've taken the game and just completely expanded it and made it look amazing and play amazing, and it's just, yeah, it's all here. It's all really good. But yeah, so playing on PS5, like I said, done it from start to finish. I'll start with, I think the easiest things to talk about quickly are the presentation and the sound, because obviously when you're remaking something, you're taking all assets and making them look, nice and shiny and brand new for the current age. This game is gorgeous. Like every enemy from the original GameCube one, just not up-res, but like new high poly models, new animations. Everything is freaky and horrible. All the villagers are just like it's so good. Obviously because they're carrying on from Resident Evil 2, because Resident Evil 2 wasn't that long ago, the remake, it's basically the same Leon. Which sounds weird to say, but like Resident Evil 2 to 4, the gap originally was really big, like PS1 to GameCube. Whereas this has been like 2 years or something, 2 or 3 years. It's cool to see some consistency between the two games. I really like that. It's like this is the same Leon that I was playing not too long ago, which I really, really like. But yeah, everything is just absolutely standout. There is one weird thing where Ada, her voice actress is really weird. It's almost like she doesn't care or she's not trying or something.
She's phoning it in.
Literally.
Everyone loves the new Ada model, but they want the old voice actress.
So I actually looked into this because I was like, why does Ada just sound like she just doesn't care? Apparently,
as voice actress.
no, not that bad. Apparently, the original Ada voice actress from RE2 remake has been shelved for whatever reason. And she was I don't remember her being amazing, but like I had no complaints.
Yeah.
And apparently in this, they're using the person that played Ada in that Netflix show, who was apparently in it for like a minute.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
I think she had like one line right at the end or something.
Yeah, they're using her. It was a bad idea because she's shit. But like, I was playing it and Laura was watching for a lot of it, and she was just there was a bit where Ada said a line, and Laura looked at me and said this whilst I was thinking it. She was like, "That sound like weird to you?" Like she just. It's really odd. Yeah, it's the only bit that stands out as like really kind of jarring. Everything else is fine. The only other kind of thing that's not bad or jarring, but is kind of odd, is if you've played the original Resident Evil 4, Leon is kind of goofy in that game.
Yeah,
he's like kicking barrels and shooting them and going like "Hasta luego," and he's like, "Where's everyone going? Bingo!" and shit like this.
Yeah, and he's an RE protagonist.
Yeah, and it's great. I love that. And it's like, because this is a continuation of RE2's Leon, who's kind of more serious.
Yeah.
During certain points, like the bingo line, it kind of sounds like he's reading lines. It's like, okay, at this bit you'll say like bingo because that's kind of funny. Whereas I don't think this Leon would say that. This is such a nitpick. Because they've upped the tone of, they've made it more serious, but the script hasn't followed with it. Yeah,
people would rage if they.
That's the problem. Is because the more I think about it, is you cannot remove those lines because people would throw a bigger shit fit if those lines weren't in, compared to him reading them and them being slightly awkward. It's literally the Simpsons meme of like, say the line, but and he's like, oh, Where's everyone going? Bingo. And they're like, yay!
This guy's giving his he's like, I'm gonna get a BAFTA for this, and then they're like, okay, now this next line, and he's like, oh no,
oh my god,
slipping away.
But I've got to say it.
Well, it's like the merchant as well, right? He still says, "What are you buying?" but very rarely.
Yes. Yeah. That's another thing I'll bring up. Is this is going to be a really hot take? I don't know if everyone will agree with this. The old merchant is obviously iconic. Resident Evil 4. This merchant in this game is better. I prefer the merchant in this game.
I agree with you.
He's like a British dude.
Played it yet?
No, haven't seen it.
Steve just likes hot takes.
Yeah.
He's kind of British in this game, and he's just got some really. And I just think like, yeah, the old merchant is iconic, but the lines are better delivered in this game, and I kind of like it. So,
Leon's over here like, how come he gets to?
There are tons of lines in this game that are new or are changed slightly to fit the character better, and they're really good. Because that's Leon, that's the new Leon being the new Leon, and it's really, really good. But like I say, it's when he's forced to kind of do a goofy line from the original.
He's got to do the meme.
He's got to do the meme.
Complain.
And it's kind of odd. So yeah, that's that. Gameplay-wise, the game plays amazingly. Has anyone here played RE2 Remake?
Yes.
So if you know the way like all the sort of aiming and stuff works, it's all still really fluid, feels really nice. You know, Leon can run around and dodge and aim whilst moving, all that good stuff that wasn't in the original RE4. You used to have to stand still and shoot in RE4. But none of that anymore. A lot of the staples of the original are still here, which is really good. You still have the attaché case and all the Tetris that comes with that. That's still all really good.
Yes.
I love that, yes.
You still get all the currency from killing enemies and finding jewelry and stuff.
Do you get and all the gun upgrades?
Yeah, all the gun upgrades. So the merchant still sells you all the guns, and he can sell you upgrades, and you can also find a few upgrades around and bits like that.
Oh, I love that.
Still got all the emblems and shit to shoot as well.
So that's one of the gameplay areas that's been completely expanded. So the original Resident Evil 4 is quite linear. It's like, you go through areas, bam, 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 bam. This game it's not like open, but there's a lot of times where the game will run you around in a circle and you can go back to older areas and stuff like that, which is really good. It's more open to sort of freely explore. And then the reason I mention that is because the game now has like this kind of really light side quest system where as you go through the linear path to this game, where it wants you to go, by certain doors, there'll be blue notes that you pick up, and they will be... I'm just going to call them side quests. They're side quests from the merchant. And he'll tell you, in this area coming up, there are blue emblems, like the start of RE4. Or he'll say, in this next area, there are 3 rats running around. If you shoot the rats in this like warehouse you're going through, you complete the side quest. And then if you complete the side quest by shooting the emblems or whatever, he gives you a type of gem. It's called a spinel. They can be used to buy specific items from the merchant, the sort of like rarer upgrades or bits like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and these side quests are throughout the entire game, like from start to finish. I think it's like 20 of them. And the good thing about them is, like I said, because the game's now more open, it will be like you'll be going through and you'll get one of these side quests and it will say that area that you were at a bit earlier, go back there. There's now like a stronger dog enemy, like a one-off dog enemy that's really strong. Kill it and you complete the quest. And it adds like a little bit more like longevity to the game, I guess. There's always like side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. I really enjoyed them. You can't really miss them, which is good as well. So you can either do them or not. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's one of the new things that's added, because I think the whole like blue medallion thing was kind of, this is going off of what I remember, it was in the village part of the original RE4 and maybe the castle, but then kind of it was there once or twice and you got a gun for doing it, I think. And then
it's a bit of an afterthought,
yeah,
right?
it's like,
it felt like,
it's kind of like it's cool, but like don't really know why it's there. Whereas now that blue medallion stuff is tied into this sort of overall new quest system. I keep calling it quest. It's not as like blatant as like you've got a new side quest. It's just like here are some things you can do if you want to. Like it's
yeah.
But yeah, it's cool there. And like I said, everything, all the enemies and bosses throughout the game they're all familiar in a way that you remember, like the way they look, the way they sort of act and things. But they're all changed to accommodate this new, more modern 2023 gameplay. Because Leon moves faster and you can run around more and you can hot swap weapons now. You can use the D-pad to change guns as opposed to digging through your fucking briefcase every 2 minutes. The bosses are a lot more aggressive, I feel, which is good. But yeah, just that's the gameplay is it's really modern. It's really fun. All of Leon's the sort of signature loop of RE4 gameplay is still kind of there as well, which is nice. Where it's kind of like you cap an enemy in the face or the leg a few times, and it will like hobble, and you can go melee them.
Go up and roundhouse them.
Yeah, that's still a big loop of the game, which is really good.
Yeah.
One other core change is with the knife. In the original game, you would hold the left trigger to pull out your knife, and it was always there, and it was just a way to get a bit of extra damage for like an enemy on the floor. Now, your knife has durability, and it can break from overuse. But the upside is that you can now basically parry every attack in the game if you time it well, which is really fun. It's really, really good. Someone will throw an axe at you from far away or something, and the original game you would like shoot out of the air, and that would be cool. But this one you can just quickly pull out your knife and slash it to the side or something, and it's really cool. It's really fun to pull off these parries.
I really want to play this.
It's so good. It's so good. Boss fights will have big sweeping attacks and bits like that, and not all of them, but certain ones, you can parry away and shit like it's really, really good. And because the knife is now disposable, you have like your main knife that you can repair, but you can pick up like kitchen knives and weaker knives that's
cool.
Yeah, they just sort of sit in your inventory as they break in like 2 parries, but it's like you can.
It's like a little if you need it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is like if the durability for parries wasn't there, after a short while you could literally parry everything and like
just be invincible
and never get hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all really good. The main thing, the last little bit, which I'm going to dance around because I don't want to talk too much about it because it's really good, is the story. The main story from start to finish, the story beats from what you know from Resident Evil 4. They're all there in this. You go village, castle, fortress, start to finish. All the bosses you know from the original game, if you remember, they're all here. They're all souped up. The key change, or the key sort of mantra, it feels like they're going with this, which I really like, is they haven't added a whole bunch of stuff. They've just taken all the key points you remember and expanded them. Not to the point where it feels drawn out, but it's like, oh my god, this area that I remember is now slightly bigger, or it's got more going on. Or that bit with Mike that everyone loves towards the end, that lasts like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it really is not a big sequence, is it? In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, they sit down at their meeting making this game. They're like, right, everyone loves Mike. Make the sequence longer. Give them more stuff. Make more stuff going on. Again, I'm dancing around stuff, but like that's how it feels towards most parts of this game.
Yeah.
It's just really good. I finished it in about, I think it was like 16-17 hours start to finish, which for a third-person survival horror game is really long.
That's good. Yeah, that's good value for money. Yeah,
I think that's about as long as the original game was as well. There's like 16 chapters. It's like an hour per chapter. Bear in mind, I did everything. I did all the side quests. There's like an added shooting gallery mini game. Did all of that. Basically did as much as I could in one playthrough. to get like one solid playthrough of the game. Just absolutely loved it. I cannot speak highly of this, higher of this game. I had such a great time with it.
It's so good to hear. I'm so glad this is a good RE2 remake and not another disappointing RE3 remake. Yeah.
Well, what I will say, which is it's kind of like funny, is playing the RE2 remake, obviously of RE2 being a tank control PS1 game with strict camera angles.
Yeah.
Everything was brand new, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas there are certain parts of RE4 where it's like, I know they're different here, and I know there's bits different, but I'm playing it, I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, this is exactly the same. It's still
it's how you remember it.
It's still amazing, but there's a couple of fights, a couple of bosses, and bits like that where I'm like, this is the same. I'm having so much fun, but it's just because I haven't played RE4 in a while.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, absolutely love this. It'll be interesting to see where they go next.
Oh my god, they have to do 5, right? They have to do 5.
Oh mate, please.
They have to do 5.
It's really tricky because for reasons again that I won't explain, because there are remixed and additional bits in this game. I do think the next game will be RE5. But I don't really know how you do that in this sort of remake timeline, because this remake timeline has basically been the Leon story, right? You have Resident Evil 2, which is Leon and Claire, and you have there's RE3 remake with Jill, but then this again, Resident Evil 4 remake is all about Leon again and what Leon's up to, and then RE5 is about Chris and Wesker.
Yep.
And they haven't been remade.
They haven't done that yet.
The storyline lead up for Chris and Wesker, which pays off in 5, is the story in Resident Evil 1, which hasn't been remade, and Resident Evil Code Veronica, which hasn't been remade. So it's like,
so do they go back and do one?
That's the weird thing, is I don't know, because I think
they did remake RE1, didn't they, already?
It's kind of weird because you have these like almost 2 different stories. You have everything up to say you're starting from the beginning, right? When the games first came out. Everything up to Resident Evil 6 is kind of in its own space now. It's almost like that's the old Resident Evil.
Yes, yeah.
And the RE1 remake, which came out on GameCube, I kind of put with those games.
Yeah.
And this new line, I know this is very confusing, this new line of Resident Evil kind of starts with the RE2 remake.
Yes.
So you're gonna have RE5.
Okay.
You're gonna have RE5 come out. Right?
Yeah.
And it stars main character Chris, who we only know as the baby snatcher from Resident Evil 8.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
I actually think you're looking too far into it.
I was also going to say that. I was going to say, does it matter? This is RE5 where a man punches a boulder angrily. But does it matter?
I don't think people need a background check on Chris motherfucking Redfield.
But it's like people... people that are 18 now, that are old enough to play this game, would have been, 2 years old when Resident Evil 4 first came out? You can have people...
This remake isn't for them. You know what I mean? They'll enjoy this. But Resident Evil 4 remake is not for 18-year-olds.
Resident Evil 4 is to bring this game back into the light for younger and newer players that didn't play the original. Yeah. And the thing is like I said, you're going to have Resident Evil 5 remake starring a character that people only know as Chris the Baby Snatcher from RE8, with the antagonist of Wesker, who they only know as Lance Reddick from the Netflix show.
I think it'll be fine, mate. I think it'll be fine.
It's like, No, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, RE2 ends with Leon blowing up a lab and then escaping.
Yes.
And then in 4, he's working for the CIA and he's invading a small Spanish village.
Yeah.
Do they bother to?
He's just here to look. They do a little bit more backstory where it's like, the opening cutscene to this game is kind of like, okay, realistically, here's how you get from RE2 to 4
That's what I was
in
about
2.5 minute cutscene of backstory. How do you get from police officer to suplexing Spaniards president agent?
But here's the other thing I'll pose to you then, Josh. If they don't go for 5, what do they do?
Okay.
You can't touch 6 without 5. That's a Wesker.
The big thing. RE fan in me, which I don't think is going to get, I would want a Code Veronica remake that sets up 5. That will never happen. I want it so much, they're not going to remake Code Veronica. There's too much stuff in that game that is weird, and I don't think they'll do.
Do you think they'd ever skip 5 and just do like Resident Evil 4 point something and just go in a different direction?
That was what I was hoping. Where I was kind of thinking if you do RE5, but you try to set
RE6 lined up.
We'll get to that. Jesus Christ. If you try and do RE5, but change it enough to kind of make more sense with what's going on in the remake timeline.
Yeah.
Is that my thought process went to, is that still an RE5 remake? And then my next thought process was, does that even matter? Does it matter that RE5 is remade? Because this game is not called Resident Evil 4 Remake. It's called Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
You just do a Resident Evil 5 that isn't a one-to-one remake.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
The other thing with that, though, is where's Resident Evil?
The original.
Yeah, because we got 2, 3, and 4 now.
They've got to be thinking about remaking that one next, right?
Or it's just okay. So
they have remade it, but just not in an RE2 remake.
I've been thinking about this a lot.
Can we see your flowcharts, please?
We could, yeah.
I think
give us the PowerPoint.
I think 100% RE1 is not going to get touched. I think it'll be like,
I agree.
Why do we start at RE2 again? And Capcom's reply is, shut the fuck up. No one cares. What I do think is, I do think they'll remake RE5, but what I think they should do is instead do an RE9, as in a next sequel after Village, but bring in this new Leon into it and tie everything together and go forward from there.
They fucked it so hard, haven't they?
There's
no right answer.
We've had this golden period of amazing remakes, and now we're left with the question of, oh fuck, like what now?
Because I just want Resident Evil 5 again.
Yes,
I'm so much of a fanboy. I'll just play a shit Resident Evil 5 remake.
I'm so there with you. I want the RE5. I want the RE remake treatment on RE5. I think that would be a really fun game.
I love RE5. I love that game so much. I honestly do not know how you do what they've done to RE2 and 4 to 5.
You could.
RE5 is a level-based action game about a white man invading an African country and shooting all the natives. I do not know how you do that.
Well, you don't sell it. That's not on the box. You don't sell it like that. Okay. I think you could.
Because I think you could sell it like that.
It's because as much as we love RE5 and 6 for the gameplay,
I don't love RE6.
I love it for the game.
I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
For as much as people like those games now in retrospect, I think those games are when it started going wrong for Resident Evil. It started going in a direction where they were adding new viruses, new weird shit.
I see what you mean.
I will counter that with, I think those games were fine for the time period they were in, because at the time we were in a more action-based era.
People hated RE6 when that came out.
6 was
The
6 was
story
a
was
very
fucking
tough
awful,
sell.
that's why.
People have come around on 6, but at the time, no one liked 6.
The argument of RE6 is kind of weird, but just remake it and keep some of the story the same. The story in RE6 is fucking ridiculous. Do you remember that game? It's crazy. You're Wesker's son with like Sherry Birkin snowmobiling. It's fucking weird. It's so weird.
Okay, isn't that the end of the line for all of this RE business, though? Doesn't it always end in utter ridiculousness? Like, I feel like we're just putting, you can legitimize RE4 however you want, but it's gonna end in Chris Redfield punching a boulder at some point.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
What I'm worried about, Josh, is because you've had 2 and 4, you think this is Resident Evil, the Leon Kennedy show, and it's not.
I'm more than happy having an RE5 remake with Chris again, but I feel like it's all the build up just isn't there. It's I don't know.
Do you know what I think they're going to do? I think they are going to skip the remakes and just go straight to Resident Evil 9.
I would expect a Resident Evil 9 out.
Yeah, I think a Resident Evil 9 will come out before any other remake, because that's kind of how they do it now, right? They do mainline up-to-date canon, like 7, then remake 2, and then 3, and then Resident Evil 8, your new mainline, and then go back and forth, and yeah. We'll have to...
So does RE5 remake or otherwise, the RE5 version come out and it's just a completely new game?
I think so. At least...
You reckon?
I don't think completely new game, but I think it will be changed a lot more compared to how much it's changed with the remakes of 4 and 2 and 3. I think
it's going to be a match-free mobile game now.
Yeah. I think it will be changed to the point where you're like, that story stuff is new, but that's fine, because it makes sense. I think.
I just don't. I think. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the stories are a fun time. I don't think that's what 90% of the people are. Like, okay, people are coming to the stories, but they're coming to the stories with the knowledge that it's all fucking ridiculous and none of it makes sense, really, overall. So it doesn't matter. They can remake 5, they can make 5 again, and it's completely different, and it doesn't matter as long as it's good.
No, but that's the weird state that Resident Evil's in now, where when you play the remakes plus now this new RE4, it is played a lot more straight than the originals. Like I was saying, like Leon saying these goofy lines is kind of odd, because that's not the Leon that's now been portrayed from RE2. So we're going around in circles. We're going around in circles.
I just have one quick question. Is 5 the multiplayer one?
Yes, it's co-op, yeah.
Okay, I hope they do that one then, because that would be kind of like, I've not played a Resident Evil game, but like I could see me being a player too
or they have there's a lot more there's more gameplay mechanics in the RE4 remake that sort of lean more towards this direction of RE5 remake, where when Ashley gets damaged too much, she goes down and you have to go over and revive her, which is like okay, incapacitated, go revive your ally. There's sections in this where it's in the original, where like Luis helps you for a little bit in like the house and he shoots at enemies and stuff. He's in the game a lot more in this, and he has proper AI. He's shooting at enemies and running around and meleeing them, and it's like that could be Sheva AI, like easy peasy in RE5. So like I say, I have full confidence that is where this series is going next. It'll go RE9. It'll be called Resident Evil Extinction or something, with the E and the X making Roman numerals 9 or some shit, and then you'll get RE5 remake.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. 100%. So that's where. But yeah, that's my final thoughts. Coming back around from all of that absolute madness. if you're still here listening, because away from my fucking schizo moment for a second with Resident Evil, Resident Evil 4 is amazing, and you should play this game because it is fantastic. I've already started my next playthrough on New Game Plus on a harder difficulty. So.
I don't get how people can be that. I've played it for it once and instantly go New Game Plus. For me, it would be, if I was to do a New Game Plus, it would be like, let me play another game and then come back later on
No,
It's
because
harder.
it's
You
no,
can't stand
it's
the story,
addictive.
though.
It's addictive.
No, because with these, now that I've done the proper story playthrough where I take my time and explore every nook and cranny and kill every enemy, now I do the playthrough of I have a maxed out TMP.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
SMG.
yeah.
I'm capping enemies in the leg and running past them to get to the next doorway, to get to the next area. Like I'm seeing how quick I can do it. So
It's like, what if survival horror game, except I'm Rambo?
basically, yeah. You start New Game Plus and you go to the merchant and he's like, listen, buddy, I'm gonna pretend like I don't know you, but save up enough and you can totally buy this infinite ammo rocket launcher if you want it. And I'm like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I do actually really want that. I'll be back for that later. So yeah, that's Resident Evil in a nutshell. I'm going to tie this up because I'm done talking about this now. I'm going to throw this out very quickly. I'm not going to talk about it, but I have started a game called Paranormicide.
Oh, yes.
I have started this. I'm about 2 hours in. This is a visual novel by Square Enix. It is Japanese horror. It's curses. It's like Tokyo murders, people dying. It's really well written. This is amazing. I'm going to talk about this next week. If anyone's interested, I would love to almost do like a not read along, but like book club.
And it's quite cheap, right?
It is $15.99.
Not bad for it.
Not bad. It is a puzzle visual novel. There are puzzle elements here. What I've played so far, this game is fantastic. I'm going to leave it there, but I will be talking about this next week. Anyone listening, I encourage you to have a look. I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Are you saying it's good then so far?
It's been fantastic. I love this game.
Okay, good.
Is he not clear?
I'm playing it. What I will say is,
Hold on. How do you feel about this, Josh?
I'm playing this on Steam Deck, and it looks amazing on Steam Deck, man. It's like my Switch is like crying in the corner. Like, right, we're gonna move on. Move on. This has been going a bit too long, but we'll move on. We had a question very quickly from someone this week. Question time. Mm-hmm. This was a question that came in from someone via email at thegameforecast@gmail.com. The question for the week from Simon was, what is your favourite platformer? I'll start this off very quickly. Mine is very quick and easy. I'll always swear that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is the best platformer of all time. Easy. Do any of you two, or anyone hop in? That's absolutely fine. Anyone have...
You said any two. Who are you excluding there?
Oh, any of you.
I'll go. I wasn't huge into platformers. I liked Mario well enough until I played a little indie game 360 arcade called Super Meat Boy.
Oh, and so good.
Forever and always, that at least that soundtrack will have a place on my MP3 player.
Yeah.
But that game was so good because it was like every level was like 30 seconds max, and the second you died, you would be like,
yeah, back in,
restart immediately, back in and round again. And then I remember it did a really cool thing where at the end of every level, when you finally finished it, it would play every attempt over the top of each other at the same time, so you could see. It was like when you watch those AI algorithms learn, and it was like, it took me like 13 attempts before I realized, don't immediately roll into the spike trap at the start, and then the next 40 get through that obstacle. And yeah, I love Super Meat Boy.
That game's brilliant. What about you, Steve?
Probably I would say Super Mario Maker. Like, make your own platforms.
The best thing you can do in those games is go to the custom levels and arrange them by best to worst, and just play through like the top 50 best levels.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, why suffer for a platformer when you can make the platform game and make other people suffer for it?
Yeah. How about you, Sam?
I had a rough one with this one because, like, what do you classify as platformer? That's the inner turmoil.
You press a button to jump, and you have to jump from one thing to another. Anything else?
There may be platforms.
Yeah, there may be platforms.
So
everything else.
My initial go-to was Rayman.
That's fine.
That's
platformer.
Because I was thinking along the lines of like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Rayman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all platformers. Yeah,
all platformers.
I think I settled on Jet Set Radio.
No, I'm back out. You've lost me.
That's
I would say that's not a
turmoil
platformer.
with platformer, because that game is literally all about jumping, avoiding obstacles, and everything. And I'm there like, if it's not a platformer, what is it?
I really like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, but in the end I had to go with Uncharted 4.
That's. I just want people to understand my thought process of like, I was on Rayman, but I couldn't come to terms with what kind of genre Jet Set Radio was, and that's my answer. Jet Set Radio.
What is Jet Set? Is it a
It's a
sports game?
platformer. Genuinely, I've convinced myself it's a platformer.
Oh god, I don't.
Wikipedia says
Steam has it
game.
classified as 3D platformer.
There you go then. Yeah, Sam wins.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. By Steam rules, Sam has. We have to accept it.
Steam has decreed.
I went on a journey. Every time these questions come out, it's never easy for me, and I don't know why.
Rick has just typed, "Is Tony Hawk a platformer?"
No, Tony Hawk's.
I don't think we're equipped to deal with that question.
Tony Hawk is a rhythm game, and no, I will not elaborate.
If there's a platformer and you jump on it, it's a platformer.
Yeah, the skateboard is the platform.
You do an ollie.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll accept
if you're
that.
not happy with my answer, it's Rayman.
Is Doom a platformer?
No,
Yep.
no, Doom is a rhythm game, unironically. Don't at me. I do not care. Thank you for the question,
Doom's
Simon.
a mobile game.
If you've got any more questions you want to send in, you can always send them in. Either leave them as a comment on the video or in the email, as mentioned before, gamefourcast@gmail.com. So thank you very much. Let's get on to some news. There is some interesting stuff this week. You have the main one of the week.
Zelda?
No. I was going to start with Dark and Darker. I feel like a few of
I
you
feel
here.
like you say this is the main one, but not many people know Dark and Darker, right?
I can start with the other one if you want.
Oh, only top 10 on Steam. Don't know.
It's
The day before was top 10 on Steam. Look at that.
What was, sorry?
The day before?
Oh, what, the fake zombie game?
Yeah.
The game that's totally real.
Yeah.
Now. Look at
Everyone shut up, I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back in. Dark and Darker, a game that was top 10 on Steam during its alpha tests. I think it was the alpha tests. Has been
beta.
Yeah, beta, alpha, completely removed from Steam due to a dispute the developers are currently having with Nexon. I'm going to give a brief overview to this, and then I'll chuck it out to you lot to get some opinions. Dark and Darker, made by a studio called Iron Mace in Korea. A bunch of the developers in Iron Mace are ex-developers from Nexon. So you might have heard of Nexon, very big producer and developer of lots of mobile games and PC games. Massive company. Before a lot of these people left to create the company Iron Mace, they were working on a project called P3. Internally, this game is now known to be very similar to Dark and Darker. They all left. They all made Iron Mace Studio. They all started work on a new game called Dark and Darker, which Nexon has now cease and desisted, saying it is so similar to the original project that there is no way they could have made it in time without it including some sort of stolen code or assets. As of right now, there is a dispute back from Iron Mace, saying a bunch of things such as a lot of the assets are from the Unreal Store. That's how they can do it so quickly. A lot of them saying that due to there being no big company bureaucracy, that's how they can make a game so quickly because there's no bullshit. Things like that.
There's some. It's funny. Normally, all this stuff is handled behind closed doors,
Yes.
probably for good reason.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a response like this gets them in trouble, legal or otherwise.
It's very public, isn't it?
Very entertaining. There's a couple of really choice quotes that came out of their response, which was, just because it may be difficult for a large bureaucratic company such as Nexon to develop games in a short time frame does not mean is it impossible for another studio, big, small, new or old, to develop games quickly, which is kind of like the legal equivalent of like just taking a shit on their desk or something. You know what I mean?
Very much Fortnite v Apple energy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
We can make a game faster because your meetings are bullshit, your stand-ups are bullshit. We haven't got to do all the stupid internal stuff, which is all bullshit. We can just make a game.
Yeah,
That's essentially what's happening here.
There was another one. since they said since key members of Iron Mace were also on the development team of the P3 project and know how quickly and haphazardly the P3 project was built, if anything, using assets, design, and code built for that project would have been a hindrance rather than a benefit to the development of Dark and Darker.
Basically, translation there being, why would we use code from the P3 project? That shit was terrible. That we ain't touching that spaghetti with a barge pole. That's why we're
like now, with quotes like that is if Iron Mace are like cleared, right, and like just in the clear, those comments get made funnier because they essentially become true, right?
Yeah. Or as of right now, we don't know. It's almost like here's been the DCMA reply from Iron Mace. It's kind of in limbo right now. I assume if you go on a subreddit, people are like saying like, yeah, the new alpha's definitely going to happen in 17 days because look what they've said. It's like no.
Yeah, a Twitter clapback is not going to clear them in time for this release for sure. Yeah.
Dark and Dark, because Dark and Darker has quite a fanatic fan base. There are people being like, "Oh yeah, for sure, it's definitely like they've clapped back. Oh yeah, they've shut it down." It's like, have they though? Because there's a leaked screenshot going about, which it can't say if it's confirmed to be that game or not, but it does look extremely similar. And also, even if they, usually with game companies, I don't work in the games industry myself, but don't game companies usually have like non-compete orders, especially like if you've left the company, it takes like a few years before you can work on a similar project or something.
It's kind of tricky because like you said, it's normally stuff like that where it's very commonplace, not just in games but in like software and stuff like that, where it's like anything you develop whilst working at a company belongs to the company. I know that sounds really like kind of shit, but that's just how these things tend to work. You're being paid by wherever it is you're working for whatever you develop at the time, whether that's code, assets, ideas, and concepts. Like it's normally quite common, and that's the one thing I wanted to say about this is like I'm looking at this kind of broadly, and I'm not taking sides because there's a very common and probably likely scenario where everyone is being a bit cheeky here. And people are right, people are wrong on both sides, and it's you bring up earlier about like Epic and Apple and stuff, where it was just like you kind of watch it from the outside, knowing that no one's hands are probably entirely clean.
And like obviously it's like Nexon is this huge conglomerate company, right? And it's kind of like fuck those guys, but like I don't know, just because they wrote a really good response, it's like if they did break their contract or whatever, it's like there's not much they can do.
Well, there's tons of stuff which is again even the sort of rebuttal isn't 100% foolproof either. There's one of the key things is about how whilst he was working there, so one of the developers at Iron Mace, people making Dark and Darker, was a lead developer for the Nexon project. And then he ran a private server whilst he was at Nexon, moving assets around, and that's where Nexon is saying like, "Oh, he's stealing assets." But this guy is claiming, "Oh, I had the server up because of COVID. It was all unsure, and we were in and out of the office. We weren't sure what to do, so I used this server." And the guy's argument is, "No one told me I couldn't, so I did." And it's like, that's not foolproof. That's still kind of wrong. Just because someone says you shouldn't be doing something that you shouldn't be doing.
I couldn't shit on his desk.
Kind of, yeah. So, like I said, it's not foolproof. And Nexon, there's also a claim that Nexon is saying that there's like 2,000 files or assets were the same between these two projects. And then Iron Mace have come back and said, well, most of those, like thousands of them, are common files, in the Unreal Engine and things like that. And that's perfectly fine. You install the Unreal Engine on one computer and another, they're going to have similar files because it's all underlying stuff. But they claim that, like 40, 50, 60 of the files are because of coding practices, they're similar names, and that's why they're the same name. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. But again, that's again not foolproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I think
it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately we just kind of want to play more Dark and Darker, right? I think we're all on that. We're all on board there. But it's like the worry is Nexon is they have so much money, and Iron Mace is a small independent studio, and it's like they could delay this they could just choke them out with lawyers.
Basically, yeah. I think at the very least, whatever happens, you're not going to see Dark and Darker for a while, unfortunately. And it's hard to put across the bits that I'm saying without sounding like some kind of Nexon shill. But I'm trying to take a step back and look at everything sort of pragmatically.
Yeah.
It's so easy to take the side of Iron Mace, this small studio, against Nexon. Obviously, because it's the little guy against the big guy, right? You always root for the little guy because it makes sense. But as soon as, again, you showed that screenshot, Steve.
Again, that screenshot wasn't confirmed.
It's not
to be.
But it's just lots of things like that. I guess it's just
But I wonder if, because Dark and Darker, I think the last playtest really blew up. I wonder if we're going to start seeing clones of it come out before Dark and Darker manages to get out of this lawsuit.
There's got to be a whole bunch of indie studios out there somewhere now, just like this is our time, this is our moment.
Yeah.
We've got to
go
Dark and Darkest right now before they settle this.
Light and lighter.
If you were making a game similar or a clone to Dark and Darker to leech on to the dregs that followed Dark and Darker, this is your time to put your foot on the fucking gas and go mad. Like, if you're ever going to have a chance, not guaranteed success, but if you're ever going to have a chance, it is now to be that game where remember Dark and Darker, the really good game before it was removed forever? Yeah, play this instead.
Yeah.
Because that will come along. Something will take its spot because it's proved that it's really popular. Was it top 10 on Steam or some shit? That's not easy to get to. That's insane.
Ubisoft's not up to much these days. Get them on it.
Oh, they can barely keep themselves together as a company, let alone make a game.
Or Eve.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's a fucking millionaire. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, that was the Dark and Dark situation. Moving on from that to games that are falling apart. You have MultiVersus.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say Zelda.
Zelda.
The game's gluing itself together.
You might have heard about this. This is a big one this week. MultiVersus has been completely taken offline. Not yet, but very soon, to relaunch in 2024. MultiVersus is the game that launched to be honest with you, amazing fanfare. Everyone played it during its launch week. And then we had a story a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, a bit longer, about how it had lost 99% of its player base since launch. And now the game is completely gone for them to basically go back into development for a year.
I'm kind of glad they're doing this, though.
It's so weird. So the game's currently in Season 3, and players have been waiting for Season 4 now for, I think, 4 months. Yeah. There hasn't been a new character release for about 3-4 months. And instead of coming out and announcing a new character and a new season, as everyone that plays the game was expecting, the game's now being removed.
That's a very strange card to play all of a sudden, isn't it?
It's strange, but in a way, I think this is the correct choice because it kind of died off. Like, it had a great launch, but there was like netcode issues where it was like you'd have some laggy online matches and stuff, and then you had other people being like, I remember, I think it was Dunkey who did a video where he was like just like relentlessly shitting on the game. And like, it was like, there's this problem. And at the end, he was like, oh, but it's actually really fun and you should play it. But he, like, the whole video shat on it. And I think that was the thing with MultiVersus, is there was some problems with it. And they didn't really, I'm not sure if they even fixed them, because it's kind of like we lost interest very quickly. They also didn't do like character reveals properly at all. They were just like, oh, here's 2 randomly on like a picture.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they should have smashed it up, made it like an event. And so I do think that, like, rather than letting the game slowly die off as it was, take it down, rework it, bring it back with a bang, get it right this time. Because there was something there. We are missing like Smash is kind of.
You are right. You are right. I think everything you're mentioning, when we did the news story a few months ago about it losing 99% of the player base, I think we broke it down and we were like, okay, why has that happened? And we went through like all the issues it's having. I think I do agree with you. I think this is probably the best option to take. I just think it's just not great, is it? And that's just what it comes down to. It's just really not great.
True.
You can't.
I think it isn't it almost unheard of. You can't just unlaunch a game and then decide to launch it again later. Isn't that?
They've done that. Final Fantasy 14
That's
did
not
that.
fair. You can't have 2 launch days.
Well, it's almost like, Overwatch 1 is becoming a free-to-play game in a year's time, and it's going to be Overwatch 2. Okay, yeah, that's a bit weird, but that's fine. Also, Overwatch 1 will no longer be playable for a week from now. Like, what?
Yeah, that's the bit I don't. Why? It's like, okay, why not just say, okay, this is going to continue to exist in its current form. We're not going to do updates to it. We're planning for a huge, MultiVersus reloaded in 2024. Why?
Yeah, that makes most sense, I think. Is to say, like, look, game will be up, but we are going dark for 9-12 months, and be like, you can play it. It'll be here. There isn't, no content or whatever. I don't know. I guess it is so they can do, like Steve says, like some big new launch, because then they can be like, MultiVersus launches March 2024, and then when that news comes out in, say, like January 2024, you can't at that point go play MultiVersus. You have to. All you can do if you are excited is just get hyped and wait. Is it
smacks of like forced scarcity?
Exactly. Like, is it good? No, it's really shit.
it is really shit. But I will say, like, I'm more and this is probably a backwards way of thinking, but I'm more interested, like, oh, they're closing the game down, then they're going to rebrand it and relaunch it, rather than say it was just left up and then it's like, oh yeah, relaunch, like reworked it 2.0. I'm like, that would be less interesting to me. I'm not sure why my brain works like that, but I think like taking it down to really heavily work on it.
It's literally because they're taking away something that you quite like.
Well, it's not just that. It's because they're taking away something that people have paid a lot of money for.
That's the part I can't wrap my head around.
You have a founders pack, right, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
How much you pay for that?
Only like 10, 20 quid, I think.
Yeah, but you now can't play that game for like a year. The game you paid for, the game that at no point said it was going away.
There are several games that are like that. Like, if you're a fan of MMOs, they die.
I think the point I'm trying to say is that, like, the people this hits the hardest are the people that are still actively playing that game, excited for a new season of characters. The people that have bought skins, battle passes, founders packs. Some people on it's all anecdotal, but people on like subreddits and Twitter saying like, I've dropped like $100 on this game, and now in 2 weeks' time, I can't play it anymore. Or like it's not 2 weeks. It's like a month's time or something. But it's just that is weird. That doesn't happen. It's really odd.
True. I do think it is going to require a lot of faith from them not to like abandon this project.
Yeah.
Or are they offering refunds at all?
Oh, that's the other kind of sleazy thing. I let Will say that because Will pointed it out on Discord.
The only thing they said about refunds was like, oh, just contact the store where you bought this from, and they'll cover you. But most of them won't. But because it's obviously they don't do refunds for like DLC and digital purchases. But I do wonder do you remember when Cyberpunk came out and it was balked on everything, and most of the storefronts were like, no questions asked, we will give you your money back if you request it. I wonder if a few of these places like Steam and Sony will just be like, we're not going to bother like with this shitstorm. Just have your money back.
Well, they might do, but I also think that Cyberpunk was like the hugest news at the time, whereas
Yeah.
Is anyone really talking about MultiVersus?
Oh, yeah, but the guy who dropped $100 is going to be talking about it.
I reckon. I reckon, right? It won't make any news stories about refunds or anything. But if you spent £100 on MultiVersus via, say, you play on PlayStation, you contacted Sony and went, "Look at this bullshit," I bet they would refund you. I feel like they would just like do it behind the scenes.
Also, who is going to spend money on this when it does come back?
Exactly. Yeah, there's that as well.
They can just rug pull you at any moment and remove a game that you've paid money for.
Technically, this is a free-to-play game, and hopefully they'll come back and give supporters who did maybe spend money on it, like some extra rewards and stuff. But
it's also weird because it's like
pure copium.
I know.
Well, it's a relaunch in 2024, but also like I've played MultiVersus. It comes back in a year's time, and they're like, we fixed rank play and we added Gandalf and Neo.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay.
I don't know what they're expecting to gain here. This game, it's not going to come out as a different game. It will be the same game when it comes back.
They specifically said there's a 2-minute video you can watch of the guy looking really sad, staring at a camera, basically doing a YouTube apology video explaining what they're doing. And he says, we're coming back in 2024 with a new launch, with new progression and new stages. He very smartly does not mention any new characters in that video. So I don't know. Is it like communities getting mad at the game, pull the rug and come back in a year and start again? It's so weird.
Is this a new strat for making a successful game? Like, I don't know. We just talked about Dark and Darker and how they're doing their like, it's around for a week and then it's gone for a couple months and it's around for a week, and that kind of builds hype. And is MultiVersus over there like, man, no one's excited about our game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they kind of like,
what if we just took it away?
The ostrich strategy: put your head in the sand and wait for a bit and then come back.
Well, as I said, like people were excited for this game, and then they just kind of like blew their load with a load of characters, like with not much fanfare.
That's what I was going to say, because you mentioned like, oh, it had problems, right? But I didn't drop it for the problems. I dropped it because I played it and I was like, this is exactly what I expected it
for
to be.
A week.
Yeah, and then I was done. I had my fun and I was done with it. And it was like, hey, you want to play ranked? And I was like, no, not really.
Or the scary conversation you have around that is if everyone is having the same experience, the game in some way is fundamentally flawed because it's not retaining players. You can be like, oh yeah, we're going to come back in a year with more content, a couple more characters, a new stage. But it's like everyone left in like 2 weeks. Yeah, something is clearly wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm not in a position right here, right now to tell you what is wrong. But clearly something on a deeper level with this game is a little bit wrong.
This isn't the game was like balked and no one could play it, so we're taking it down. This is like the game was, unstable, should we say? Yeah. But also everybody just kind of
Everyone stopped.
Yeah.
You need people much smarter than me to look at this from a broader, scope and be like, look, X amount of thousands of players played this 3 times or whatever and then stopped. Why did this happen?
Yeah. I will agree there. Like when they said they're taking it down for a year to come back, I was like, oh, they're reworking the game. If it depends on how much of a rework they're doing,
it's tricky because game dev takes so long, but 9 months to 12 months is a long time. You can actually we argue, we don't argue. We talk about how like Diablo 4 beta comes up and the game comes out in like 2 months. You can't do much in 2 months. You can change a few bits here and there, but like a year of game dev on a game that is already basically finished, you could change some stuff fundamentally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just have to see how much they change.
The style of game though that can be changed.
Well, there's a big focus
that's
on.
What they add 3v3.
Well, the game focused a lot on 2v2, and I'm wondering if they're gonna like maybe refocus that into more 1v1 because.
I was gonna say, you do that in a year's time. What can you add? Arcade modes with stories and little cutscenes for every character. Just maybe little things that add a little bit more retention.
Yeah,
to keep people there.
I just feel like it's like there are games that come out and you go, this was really fun, flawed but really fun, and I want to play more of this. And then there's games like this where it's like people just didn't respond to this. And
yeah.
If you want to, like, if they're like, hey, we're going to cease development, we're going to shut the servers down or whatever, that's one thing. But this weird relaunch, I really don't know what this is going to accomplish. You know,
it'll be interesting to see though. At least
that's true.
Yeah. It's like you know, obviously it's not the same amount.
I will have more fun waiting for this announcement and seeing how it plays out than I had playing MultiVersus. So.
The game's just not going to get re-released. I just don't see it happening.
It just quietly goes away. Yeah.
No, I said that as well. Well, I don't think it will happen, but there is a timeline that occurs where this game gets taken offline to relaunch and just never comes back. And
it's like 8 months from now, we'll be like, hey, what wasn't MultiVersus? What happened to that? And it's like there'll be some news story with like nobody read it, but somebody was like, yeah, we flicked the switch.
There'll be a pinned Reddit thread on the subreddit saying, okay, fine, you can have refunds.
Yeah.
We're not coming back. Okay. There is one more biggish story. It depends if you guys have if you guys want to hang on for another 10 minutes after we end just to do one more. It's up to
Zelda. We've got to talk about
Zelda.
Zelda.
It's Zelda. Yeah, we'll do like another extra 10 minutes on this. Yeah, you have there was a big Zelda Direct yesterday. I lose all track of time when I'm working from home. Tears of the Kingdom. Aonuma himself came out and blessed us with 13-ish minutes. You're not happy with this? I think this is fucking awesome.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll break it down very quickly what's been added, and then we'll discuss it. So, 4 new gameplay mechanics have been shown for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You have one called Recall, which is where you can rewind time on items. Pretty cool. A rock falls from the sky, and you can jump on it and rewind time on it and fly into the air to a sky island. Pretty cool. One of the bigger ones, there's 2 big ones. One of the big ones is a new mechanic called Fuse, which is you can take any 2 items in the game and fuse them together. So you can see on screen right now, Link has, if you are watching the video, he has a big stick, he combines it with a pitchfork, and now has a really long pitchfork. You can do that with supposedly
sold
every item in the game. You can just combine shit and get weird outcomes. Used for combat, used for exploration, all kinds of stuff. That's one of the big mechanics. You also have, if I come over to this part of the video, new mechanic called Ultra Hand. Outside of fusing stuff together, like I just said, which takes 2 items, makes 1 new item. This new mechanic, Ultra Hand, lets you stick pieces of the world together. So you can chop down trees, take a bunch of logs, stick them together, make a boat. You can take a sail or something that's separate, stick it on there, add a sail. You can take what they show as well. There's like mechanical fans, stick a fan to it. Basically,
so this is the banjo.
This is the nuts and bolts
stuff
that
we saw. Right. Okay.
Basically, Gmod. but Zelda.
This is the part which I really dislike.
I'm so confused at this, but we'll get back to that. One last mechanic. Again, it's a very minor one compared to the other 2. It's called Ascend. Anywhere there is a physical land mass above you, you can jump straight up into the air and essentially climb through it. So you can swim through and come out on top. You can't just go straight up into the air into nothing. There has to be a physical thing above you. So yeah, this 30-minute trailer basically showed off those 4 elements. The rewind time, combining items, building items, and climbing through stuff. I thought this was fucking awesome. Why don't you like it, Steve?
Because it's not Zelda. Like, this, I think the mechanics by themselves look fun. Like, you know, picking stuff up in the world and doing it. But it's not that, like, Breath of the Wild was already apart from Zelda, where like you didn't really have dungeons, you didn't have permanent weapons. Like, some of the Breath of the Wild was fantastic to me, but some of it was just like, it's a fun game. It doesn't feel like a Zelda game to me. And this is just Breath of the Wild. It's the same Breath of the Wild, but now you, rather than having like a raft that you unlock, you have to go and build your raft every single time you want to cross water or every single time you want to go up into the air, you've got to find something. I'm not sure. Like it looks like fun mechanics, but it's just moving further and further away from the traditional Zeldas. And I've played almost every Zelda game. I've loved them from like the 2D Zeldas to the 3D Zeldas. Breath of the Wild had some good parts, but it just didn't feel like Zelda. And this, like adding this plus like build it just feels like it feels like it's like a survival game.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Are you?
And it's just like it looks fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's gonna be polished and well done, but it's not Zelda.
I'm gonna break your heart, Steve. Are you sat down? Are you ready?
I am.
Traditional Zelda is dead, and it's probably not coming back.
I don't think that's true. I
think if traditional Zelda does come back, it's gonna be. I'm gonna make a comparison here. Traditional Zelda, I think, in the future will be what Bravely Default is to mainline Final Fantasy.
I disagree there.
Not from Nintendo. I don't think so.
I think that they can do traditional Zelda and update it. It just feels like Breath of the Wild and now Breath of the Wild 1.5 are just going in a direction where I'm like, you're just becoming like every early access. Well, like survival games and like open world survival games. It's like you can do Zelda while still keeping some of the elements, like the dungeons, like have open, like Zelda 1, for example. I know it's 2D. That had dungeons you could do in any order, and that would be fun in a Zelda game. Like go around, find the dungeons, and have fun with it. It's just not my hashtag, not my Zelda.
Not my Zelda. Yeah.
I agree and disagree about the survival thing. In that, I think I do agree that this is almost going in like a weird survival game direction. What I will disagree about is I think this is far from generic survival. I don't think I've seen any other game that lets you do the amount of customization and fusing that this game does.
It looks good, but for example, like I've been playing a lot of Pokemon again recently, both Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, and to me, I play those. I'm like, oh, this is Pokemon in open world.
Yeah,
it's kind like they're not the best games, by far, but it's kind of what I expect. When Breath of the Wild came out, and this looks like Breath of the Wild 1.5 or even 1.2, even it's not what I think for a Zelda open world Zelda game. Like I feel like they could have.
So Steve is saying like after Breath of the Wild, and you wanted it to go back to Zelda, and it feels like it's going away even further in the wrong direction. Whereas a lot of people, me included, I wanted more Zelda in my Breath. I loved Breath of the Wild, but I wanted some Zelda back in that game somewhere.
I think.
But do we know if they're like this isn't like dungeon based? Because what if
don't know yet?
What if this fusing thing or this Banjo-Kazooie power is this going to take the place of like the bow and the boomerang, and that's how you navigate the world?
I assume so. It's okay. So they haven't outright said that there's no dungeons and there's no items, but I would, at this point, from what they've shown and what they've spoken about, I would be surprised if they had traditional dungeons and items.
Yeah, because I could entirely see, like, I want my Zelda back, right? But if it's Zelda, and instead of going through a dungeon and unlocking a boomerang, I'm unlocking the ability to make a speedboat, and I use that to get to the next dungeon, like, or beat the boss in the dungeon by making a speedboat. I don't know why I keep saying speedboat, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'd be totally fine with that.
Well, I think the argument now is Zelda's disappointing because I can't, unlock the boomerang anymore. And it's like, well, if you're clever enough, you can probably just make one through some, through what's it called, emergent gameplay, taking some items, take an item that you throw and comes back to you combined with a sword or like a blade or something. You've made a boomerang, and
that will break after 2 uses.
So that's I think the issue is here fundamentally that Steve wants a traditional Zelda game, which this is the furthest thing from
Yeah.
it. Whereas I would love that. I love traditional Zelda games, and I'm upset that or disappointed that we're not getting a traditional Zelda game. But I'm also on the other end where I just think this looks. I think this looks like so much fun.
It looks like a fun game. I'll probably play it. I'll probably love it. But I'm just like I pine for the open world Zelda game that's in my head.
I think yeah, I don't think it's going to come from Nintendo anytime soon.
Yeah,
because Breath of the Wild sold so well due to it was hype combined with new console launch combined with a whole bunch of stuff made Zelda sell ridiculous. And I think they're just running with that because that did so well, right?
Yeah.
Very weird because it's like, we always used to complain like, oh, Nintendo is just making the same game over and over again. Yeah. And they finally make a really innovative version of one of their franchises, and then we're all like, but not like, don't go crazy with it. I still want a boomerang. Come on.
Well, it's also one of those things as well where, like, games are games, but we've said this before. Like, people make games. They might just be bored of making the same, dungeon format Zelda story after doing it for 20 years, and now they want to try a new direction for Zelda.
Yeah,
which. They are doing it. They're not trying it. They are doing it. This game is a open world, weird fusing crafting game.
I'm not sure.
It's just weird that they're choosing one of their like their franchises don't. Yeah, their franchises don't change. It's like we're about to get our 4th Pikmin. It looks like Pikmin again, which is fine. And Josh, you're super psyched for Pikmin 4.
Yeah,
but it's like, what if Pikmin came out and it's like, oh, it's open world and super gritty.
Well, that we had
it's a detective game.
this is pure speculation on my behalf, but coming off of that, with Metroid Prime 4, they started making Metroid Prime 4 and then scrapped the whole thing and said they weren't happy with it. And I would put money down on the fact that Metroid Prime 4 might have just been similar to the other ones. And they were like, look, we don't want to do this again. Let's try and do something different.
Or opposite, they could have been like, we're going off the rails with Metroid Prime 4 and realized, oh, it's not working. We need to go back to something.
Maybe, yeah. Again, we would never know, right? Until we get some no-clip documentary in 8 years from now or something. It's. I think, not to like put you on the spot, Steve, but you're the first person I've seen that has been very disappointed with this trailer. Everyone else I've seen has been very surprised and pleased.
I was talking about my brother earlier, and he was also kind of similar to me. But yeah, it's. I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan of the like Factorio. Is it Factorio Satisfactory where you can kind of like piece pieces together, and I'm like, I can see myself just being like, I'm not going to be too creative with making my little airships or whatnot. I'm just going to be like, what pattern works?
But I think I think outside of making a boat or making a hot air balloon or this, that, and the other, I think the game is obviously going to have a lot more going on. That will be fun.
Yeah,
it will have maybe not dungeons,
hopefully.
But it will but I assume it will have storylines and directions and challenges and quests and and villages and
I think what my thing was with this gameplay trailer, I think I was hoping for them to be like, as Will said, to be like, what are they reverting back from Breath of the Wild 1? Like, are we having breakable weapons? Are we having a bit more story, a bit the world not to feel so empty, dungeons? And we none of that was like assuaded, and it was like, oh yeah, now you got new things to worry about. Like, am I going to have to find sticks every 2 seconds? And because that was one thing that was in Breath of the Wild 1 was where, because you had breakable weapons, I would often find powerful weapons and be like, okay, I need to save this for later. And I never used them.
Oh, no, but the idea now is you say about the stick thing because they have quite a few sticks in this trailer and they combine sticks with this, that, and the other. I think the element that I'm focusing on is it's not just sticks. You can pick up literally anything and fuse it with literally anything and get some weird fucking combination of items.
Part of me is like, that would be fun to explore, but the other part of me is like, well, I need to, I'm gonna have like a document up to like write down every single like combination and see what works and what doesn't.
No, see,
but yeah,
I want to take a mountain goat and combine it with a teacup in someone's house and make some weird fucking thing and throw it at an enemy and do damage. I don't know.
I want to combine Link with Zelda.
that already exists. That's Link.
I can send you some links later, Steve.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there. But...
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this looked alright.
Yeah, all of this aside, you'll find out very soon if it's good or not because it comes out in about 6 weeks, which is really close.
That is insane.
It is, isn't it? It's this game. If you don't count the new Jedi game, this is the next big game coming out.
Because didn't they even say like this is development on this game is done now?
Yeah, it's done. Yeah, they'll now be bug fixing and getting ready for launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game is done. This is out. This is out in 6 weeks. Like. Time goes so fast these days. Fucking blink and you'll be playing
6 episodes of the Game FourCast, and we'll be talking about it. Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, we'll move on from that. We're running on a little bit, so we'll go on from that. But yeah, there were 2 other news stories. We won't go into now, but I'll give you headlines very quick, just so you're up to date, and then we'll do Steve's coming soon, and then get out of here. Very quickly, pour one out for Xbox Game Pass trial offer.
Yeah.
Don't need to talk about it. But I think I got probably like 2 years worth of Game Pass for £1 a month.
I mean,
we're gonna look back on this era of Game Pass gaming and be like, we had it so fucking good.
It did its job. Like before, like I wouldn't have touched Game Pass, but now I've had it for so many months. I'm like, oh yeah, it's really worth. Like for £1, it was really worth it. But £8, I'm like, £8 is still worth it.
This is Netflix when it was good. When Netflix was peak TV, and it was like, what? I pay like £6-7 quid a month and everything is on it. What the fuck? Like that is this. So yeah, they said they're going to replace it with something else in the future, as like a for new people joining. But no way will it ever be as good as what this was. So yeah, pour one out, and also pour one out for E3. Ubisoft have pulled out of E3 for 2023. Along with Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and now Sega and
who's going to be at E3?
Not a lot of people, by looks of things.
Not Dark and Darker.
What I will say very quickly is this article states that usually at this point of the year, as in like March, developers and publishers know they have a plan for E3. They know what's happening. They know when they're going. They're getting stuff set up. And as of right now, like none of that has happened. Yeah, give it a few weeks. We will be talking about how E3 is going online only, or is just not happening.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Jeff Keighley's gonna swoop in any second now and announce something.
Jeff Keighley is reading this, licking his lips. He's like
rubbing his little hands together. Yeah.
Dorito crumbs going everywhere.
He's like, do you want to be Summer Games Fest? E3,
Yeah, he's like, we can give you a 5-minute slot at Summer Games Fest if you want to shout yourself out E3. As Jeff like
beg E3.
Yeah, E3's on the floor like bowing for forgiveness, and Jeff Keighley's got his big trendy sneaker on its head, stamping it down.
Yeah.
Because he's always got like the big white or big yellow boots on or whatever. E3 is. It's not dead, but it's coughing and wheezing. Yeah, resting in peace. Yeah, that's it for the week. So what have you got for us, Stephen?
Aha. Well, today on the 29th, we have a game called Raidborn. All one word. Mm-hmm. This is an early access game, but it looks kind of like...
Oh, I saw people talking about this on Discord.
Yeah, it looks kind of like Skyrim combat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure like how much is in this game, but yeah, it looks interesting enough where I was like, I could see myself giving this a go.
It reminds me of like a first-person RuneScape art style.
Yeah, like if Skyrim met RuneScape.
Yeah, seems interesting.
I don't remember what graphics this reminds me of.
It reminds me of RuneScape 3.
For the king, Sam.
For me, I think there was a game called Shopkeep.
Shopkeep.
That's what it reminds me of. It's shop. Yeah, it's SOP. Yeah, double PE.
Shoppe.
Yeah.
Shoppe. Oh,
I could see that.
yeah, kind of, yeah. They put me in this
It's
game?
that bad.
Okay, so on the 30th, we have a game called Z Zone. ZED Zone.
Z Zone.
This looked like Project Zomboid in a way.
Okay. Yeah,
Where-
scuffed Zomboid.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure, but it looked like that sort of game where I thought Erin would probably play this.
She doesn't play just. Oh, is that guy building a wall? Yeah, she'll play.
Yeah,
this.
she'll play this. He's doing something.
Next game out on the 30th is a game called Ravenbound.
Oh, I feel like I've heard this name everywhere, like whispered in.
This is another one that
Twitter
looks kind of like Skyrim.
Can you defeat the Raven?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Blast from the past. This looks like
No one's gonna get that reference.
no one's gonna get that. This is the proper boomer podcast today.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's like Valheim.
It's like all fantasy, and they bring out the like rogue like. What the fuck?
I have no clue.
They bring out
I
the
was very
Hearthstone
busy.
cards.
I was very busy today, so I did a quicker look than the usual. Next game on the 30th, we have Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon.
Tainted
Most
Grail
of these, I'm like, I
Conquest.
wrote
Oh,
this
there
down.
we
I didn't write down my little like notes, so I'm like, I cannot remember. No, this was another game that looked like Skyrim.
What's with all these Skyrim clones today, Steve?
Oh yeah, this does look like Skyrim. This one actually looks. That's Skyrim UI.
Are we just shilling like stolen games now? What is this?
I think more.
And the next game, well, this is more for Sam, but on the tomorrow as well, the 30th, we have Across the Obelisk, The Wolf Wars. It's DLC for Across the Obelisk.
Woo!
I know my brother's been playing this recently as well.
I've
and
seen
he's
them
like,
playing that. Yeah. What's it called?
Yeah.
Across the Obelisk.
Across the Obelisk, The Wolf Wars.
The Wolf Wars.
It's gonna be its first proper wave
Yeah.
of DLC. You're gonna have a character,
Can't spell.
stuff like that.
The Wolf.
The Wolf Wars.
There we go.
Apart from being hard to say, is a fucking sick name.
Oh my god! I can't.
I'm here for the Wolf Wars.
I can't get over how much this game looks like Adventure Quest.
Yes. Oh, I used to love Adventure Quest when I was younger.
It literally it looks like Adventure Quest so much. It's almost. Do you know that game, Sam?
Yeah, I played my
Free
first
to play browser game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. I mentioned Matt the other day because you said like Matt was playing it.
Mhm.
And I was like, why does that sound familiar? Oh yeah, like Sam mentioned that I think like a year ago now on like the podcast at the beginning,
Yeah.
and he had nothing but good things to say about it.
Oh, the game's fucking fantastic.
Okay,
Ooh.
so on the 3rd of April, we have Dice Kingdom's full release. Oh. This is the game that Sam and I think Will has played.
I think Will's played it now as well. but
And
Yeah, I played it.
Well, the
still
demo
need
at least.
to try and get other people to play it.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and you two vouch for the demo being good, right? So hopefully the full release will be good as well.
Like a board game kind of aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Next game is on April the 4th. We have Meet Your Maker.
Ooh, that's
okay.
That's the behavior Dead by
This is
Daylight
the
people.
Dead by
Yeah.
Daylight people doing like, is it like a dungeon master game?
Yeah, one
style?
one person builds a fortress, another in like a like an editor, and another player has to breach the fortress to get a cube at the end in like a first person shooter kind of playstyle.
Yes.
This game
I heard
is for any
mixed things from the early access that they've put out so far.
for
But it looks interesting.
Yeah, for any PlayStation.
It's only 20
peeps.
quid, I think.
Yeah,
so.
it's $24.99. But any PlayStation peeps, this is one of the games on PlayStation Plus for April.
Ooh, could be a Rocket League.
Could be a
Could be Rocket League happening right here.
Could, Could be a Fall Guys. Could be
Fall Guys. Yeah.
or Fall Guys was PlayStation Plus.
PlayStation Plus,
launch.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last game is on April 4th. We have Filthy Animals Heist Simulator.
Don't make me Google that. It's all going to go wrong, Steve. What's it called?
Filthy Animals Heist Simulator.
I have to spell it correctly. Filthy Animals Heist Simulator. Steam.
Yeah, be really careful.
Gotta be careful.
TOS. Yeah.
This looks like if Payday met Overcooked.
What a weird combination.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Yeah, it does.
Where you are filthy animals who have to go do heists, but it's kind of like party game Overcooked.
Oh, it does look kind of fun.
Does
look pretty fun, actually.
What's the other one? Like Gang Beasts.
Gang Beasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this could be a game that we could play if it's cheap enough or whatnot. Or
looks kind of weird, but oh no, comes out in 5 days, no price. It's one of those games. The surprise. $69.99 launch day price tag.
But they usually games that are 4-player co-op aren't ever too expensive.
Yeah.
Because if not, they're dead on release.
Yeah. It looks alright. This looks interesting. Like you say, it might be like a good party game if it's at a good price. What's a good price? Like $7.99?
Under a tenner.
Under a tenner.
A good price is Game Pass.
Not anymore. It's not. Used to be. I can't afford that shit anymore. What else we got, Steve? Or is that it for?
That is it.
Nice. No big releases, really, when you think about it. It's all Skyrim games or shovelware.
Skyrim game. Any betas this week?
There is a beta that is coming out. What was it called? Veiled. I've already forgotten what it was called.
Kind of don't want to Google that either.
It was
Veiled somethings. Yeah.
Oh, Veiled.
What did you just said? Veiled Experts.
Veiled Experts. There we go.
Veiled Experts.
Yeah, but this is a Nexon.
You can.
We're anti Nexon here. Yeah.
This is a game that you can sign up for on Steam. I pressed request access. We'll see.
Yeah, this is going to sell my data to someone. You can just. It's got that look, you know.
And then the Iron Mace guys will take your data and make something better, and then Nexon won't like that, and then there'll be an old deal. I'm just not going to bother, to be honest.
Wouldn't it be funny if Iron Mace were like, "Hey, Dark and Darker has gone, unfortunately, but we were planning this next game, and it's."
Oh my god! They announced it's a battle royale shooter game. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be funny thing that's actually going to happen?
Hidden Folk.
P3 will now come out, whatever it's going to be, as a game. I guarantee it.
They have to after course.
You said guarantee it so many times this podcast, Josh. I need to start writing these guarantees down. You're doing like the scattergun where I can't keep track of them all. Yeah.
Well, actually, leave it in the YouTube comments and count how many times Josh said.
Yeah.
Welcome to podcast episode 100, the intervention episode where I get called out on all the bullshit that I claim every single week. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We're done here. We're going to wrap this up. We're not going to do our socials and get out of here. Steve is going to do the one social shout out of his life, and then we're going to head off. So, Steve, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Amaranth.
That's where you're going with this?
You put me on the spot. No, I'm done.
Just say your name.
Hold on, how'd you spell that?
I'm quitting streaming now.
Okay, we're done there.
It's Quikwix, Quikwix. There we go.
Okay, and we can find you where?
At Quikwix on Twitch, Twitter, Discord, YouTube.
Oh, Steve, you're live right now.
Am I?
Yeah, your stream is live right now. Oh my god!
Actually, you do put the podcast up right when I start streaming.
Oh my god, you're streaming. You've got no pants on. Oh my god.
You've lost it. You've lost it. Yeah. Steve is 7 women in a hot tub right now.
I get it. I get it.
Don't worry.
No.
So they're going, this has gone over their heads.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.